What a difference a year makes. 2014 in Bahrain showed the world how far off the pace Ferrari were. This year, Ferrari proved they are back on form. Kimi's second place gave him his 7th podium in Bahrain, and he took the fastest lap as well. Ferrari are also proving they're going to make life difficult for Mercedes. Indeed, Toto Wolff admitted that the brake issues suffered by both Mercs this weekend were due to them having to change brake setups after Friday practice. This was to try and improve their tyre usage due to the Ferrari pace. Raikkonen would lead Ferrari's challenge in the final laps, thanks in part to a tactical switch to the medium compound tyre at his second pit stop. Vettel then compounded an error-strewn day by running off track and damaging his nose, forcing him to make an extra stop for repairs. Very, very unusual for Vettel to make so many unforced errors. Was there a reason? Is that why he didn't overtake Bottas? Hopefully someone will explain. However, Raikkonen's final stop was perhaps a few laps too late, and he emerged 13 seconds behind Rosberg. Although he quickly cut that deficit, the question of whether or not he would be able to pass Rosberg in time was resolved when Rosberg suffered a brake problem and ran wide at turn 1. The pit crews of Ferrari were also on fire, with Kimi's final tyre change taking only 2.3 seconds. This was almost a second faster than any other pit stop by any other crew last weekend. There was more public woe for Renault as Daniel Ricciardo's Red Bull blew up within sight of the finishing line. Miraculously, he managed to have enough oomph to get over the line and finish 6th. However, it was a very close thing. Unfortunately, neither him nor the car, well, apart from the engine, are damaged too badly. Neither of the Scuderia Toro Rossos finished the race. Verstappen had an electrical failure. He also had a slight prang earlier in the race, not unsurprisingly with Maldonado. And then Sainz had a massive problem due to a wheel not being properly attached during the pit stop. 3 out of 4 cars not making it. I'm sure Horner's going to be complaining, and probably Mateschitz issue yet another warning about them pulling out of the sport altogether. However, Renault have also issued a statement saying that they are going to be doing a lot more work in an effort to improve the engine. We've also heard on the grapevine that Newey has actually been a lot more involved in the car than people previously thought, and that in Barcelona there will be a number of upgrades to the chassis and other parts of the car that haven't been working quite as well as they should have been. So let's wait and see what happens in Barcelona. Trouble in the pits also cost Sauber's Marcus Ericsson a possible top 10 finish. This was down to them having massive trouble trying to get the left front off. The wheel nut got stuck, people were all over the place, and he had an extremely slow start, which was a shame because prior to that Ericsson was actually having quite a good race on behalf of the Saubers. However, the rookie Nasser had a great race with some good wheel-to-wheel action versus Felipe Massa in his Williams. Nasser is proving to be a bit of an asset for the Sauber team and has already accumulated 14 points, keeping him well ahead of both Jenson and Alonso. Probably not something he was expecting by race 4 of 2015. Moving on to McLaren, well, really, there was kind of progress of a sort, as Alonso managed to finish 11th, equalling their best place so far in 2015, 11th. However, poor old Jenson Button didn't make his 100th start for McLaren. It wasn't to be. Disastrous weekend, every single practice had car malfunctions, electrical problems, and the final electrical problem during qualifying actually emoted something from Ron. We got a show of emotion, standing in the garage, just looked dejected, hands in the air, not something you ever see from Ron Dennis, especially not somewhere like Bahrain. The electrical failure in the recovery system was terminal and Jenson didn't even make it to the starting grid. So let's hope his 100th start for McLaren happens in Barcelona. There is a question though. Was this bang the same as the other bang? We'll never know because we never found out about the first bang. However, there was some great news for Lotus. They actually had 2 cars finishing a race and Romain finished 7th, which was brilliant. Congratulations Romain, getting some points. Miraculously, Maldonado managed to finish 2. This is the first time he's finished in 2015. Let's give him a clap. Although he did manage to accumulate penalty points for being out of place on the grid, scampered off across runoff areas, and then tangled with Verstappen during the race, so it wasn't completely free. But he finished. Lotus must be really relieved. The car looked good. Romain drove a very solid race, started 8th, finished 7th. Lotus will be looking forward to having both their cars back on track at Barcelona, and hopefully they might get points out of both drivers. Force India also seemed to be holding it together. Both Perez and Hülkenberg had good starts, good qualifying. Unfortunately for Hülkenberg, he didn't manage to finish as well as he started. Perez managed to keep Force India's two-stop strategy working and finished 8th. Force India doing okay? They're ahead of McLaren in the constructors. In fact, the only people not ahead of McLaren are Manor, which brings us to a team who you have to feel sorry for at some point. Manor will never ever ever be seen on TV. The only time you get to see a Manor car is if it's being lapped, which unfortunately it is quite regularly. If you were a sponsor, one wonders where Evo is going to start appearing. You would seriously be considering why, because you have absolutely no TV exposure, nor does the team even get a mention during the race, as the commentators can't include a car that's just so far off the pace. Williams had a pretty good race. Can't take away from Bottas finishing 4th. Held off Vettel throughout the last 16 laps, and very well done to him. Massa had a disastrous start. Electrical failure on the grid for the formation lap meant that he had to start from the pit lane. However, he did some great driving, great little action with Nasser, good overtakes, and pulled himself back up the ranks. It wasn't the greatest race from Williams though, and as Rob Smedley admitted beforehand, they're not going to catch the Ferraris, not in the near future anyway. Mercedes had another dominant weekend in theory. Lewis won, Rosberg came 3rd, keeps some streaks ahead in constructors. However, they have been rattled, as Toto Wolff quite happily admitted, by the pace of the Ferrari and the way the Ferraris are managing their tyres. In fact, so rattled that after practice on Friday, they made a decision to change the brake setup. This has now been admitted by Wolff was what caused both Rosberg's brake failure and also Lewis's. It would have been interesting to see, even if there'd been one more lap, if Lewis would have made it round. Who knows? However, he did win. Congratulations, another back-to-back win. He'll be looking forward to Barcelona, feeling confident. Cannot take it away from Rosberg. I think he was everybody's driver of the race. Amazing, amazing moves on both Ferrari drivers. Titanium skid blocks gave us the best imagery of the weekend though. Sparks flying everywhere, especially when people are overtaking. There are some great images out there, I'm sure. But being a night race and at Bahrain, it looked fantastic. And that's the kind of stuff that people want to see. It makes it feel more exciting, it makes it look more exciting, and it also makes you think that the drivers are actually driving really quite hard, even if you can't hear it.